This weekend, got men's and women's hockey in town. Start with the women. We talked about the troubles they had at Minnesota. Now they've got Wisconsin in, and if Minnesota's the number one team in the country, does that put Wisconsin?
Yeah, Wisconsin's right behind them. I think they're 3 this week in the polls, and a lot of people voting them 2. The big question mark coming into the season for the women's hockey team was how they're going to score goals. Right now they have 6 goals in their last 5 games. Wisconsin, traditionally one of the stingiest teams in the country defensively under Mark Johnson, so it's not going to get any easier this weekend. And like we talked about, I'm really curious how they respond to that tough game on Saturday night where nothing seemed to go their way.
The football team will be out of town. They'll be in Eastern Washington. Are they getting the stud back?
We'll find out. Everybody.
Bobby Schweiger said this week they're going to practice to prepare for him.
Yeah, it would make sense. Eastern Washington just lost last week to Northern Arizona. I'm sure they're thinking they can't afford another one. Do they feel like they can sneak by 1 week, get through North Dakota, and play Montana with Vernon Adams? I'm sure there's plenty of discussion in Washington about that.
I go to this situation. Last year was an excellent lesson in this. Denarius McGee for Montana State. Going into the week, Montana State was like, he's sitting, he's resting. Game day, you see him out there, he's ready to go. And so I think North Dakota's taking the prudent route or preparing for Vernon Adams. He's an outstanding quarterback. He just gives them so many versatile threats, basically. He can throw it so very accurately, and then he runs so very well. So for North Dakota, for them, unfortunately with the injury situation like we've talked about, it's next man up. And that's what's going to have to be here with this team. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think with that philosophy and still the way that they want to play, if they're able to play that way, still can have success and still have opportunities to be successful coming up on Saturday.
Well, if I recall correctly, the Denarius McGee situation was similar, where they just lost the week before too, didn't they? They had lost a couple games, yep. So they forced him back in. So we might be seeing the repeat of that.
Can Eastern Washington scores a ton of points? Can they keep anybody else from scoring? I think that's the big thing, huh? Big question mark.
Can UND score a ton of points?
Yeah, UND's offense can't get into that Big Sky style shootout. It's just it's not made for that. And it's not because Ryan Bartles isn't good enough to handle what Joe Moberg was doing. It's the pieces around him are new and young, and everybody's a little banged up.
The men's hockey team will be at home against Air Force Academy in the Hall of Fame game on Saturday night. Frank Serratori will come in. His team they'll play just as hard as his brother Tom's at Bemidji State has. And Air Force comes off a split, I think, with RIT last weekend. What are you expecting from Air Force Academy?
I'm expecting to be able to publish the best quotes of the year with Frank Serratori coming into town. Obviously one of the most colorful figures in college hockey. It'll be great to have him in here. And Air Force is a team, they'll have a little bit of familiarity. Chad Demers from Grafton is on that team. He's one of their best players. Their top line scores a lot. Chad Demers is on that line, so that's the line to key on. If you can keep him and Cole Gunner and Scott Holm off the scoreboard, then you've got a good chance to win the game, because those guys produce so much for Air Force.
And it's the same old song and dance as far as UND goes for non-conference play. You can't be messing around with anything in this one. You got to go get it.
Well, what's going to be really big for them is that the rest of their non-conference schedule, the rest of the teams have a combined record of 2-22 right now, because Niagara's winless, Lake State's winless, Wisconsin's winless. Air Force is the only team left in non-conference that's won games. So you start losing to teams with really bad records, it can really hurt that old pairwise. And
they have to take care of themselves, because nobody else in the conference is doing it for them, right?
The conference is
early.
It's been a little.
Everyone in the country seems to be a little average right now.
We're the best record in the country as a conference against other conferences going into last weekend, right?
Yeah, they did. And I'm going to go check that later today, but I think NCHC will still have the best record by a tiny bit, maybe. It's pretty close, but regardless, yes, it's going to be they'll be important games.
And volleyball has an important matchup with Northern Colorado.
Boy, does it ever. Northern Colorado was a team that was missing one of their better players, and since they've got her back, they've been on a roll. North Dakota felt that roll down in Greeley. Let's see if they can get them at home here at the Betty. It'll be big.